Once again, warm welcome to webinar of Thrissur Management Association. Today's webinar topic, Cybersecurity Simplified for All. And we are privileged and honored to have the presence of eminent speaker, none other than our beloved engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer, an international cybersecurity specialist from USA. May I request Senior Vice President of TMA, Dr. V.M. Xavier, to welcome the gathering.
Yes, good evening. Sony CL, President of TMA. Chief guest of the day, Engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer. Engineer Francis George, C.A. Manoj Kumar, past presidents, Gunawardhan IAS, and other management committee members, C.J. Ponor, secretary, and members of TMA. It is for the first time in the history of TMA, we are hosting a meeting at 7:30 p.m. It is a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the digital world, we are able to conduct the meeting at any time, and nowadays we are used to that. And every week we have 1 or 2 programs. And creating history is the art of our presidency, Sony CL. I take this opportunity to welcome our vibrant President Sony CL to this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today's chief guest is Engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer. I'm not going to introduce him much, but by profession he is an engineer and he took his MBA also. And he is really a Manikkyam, because he is a genius and a versatile genius. He is a technocrat, he is a management expert, he can talk well on any subjects in the management, and he is also very much interested in certain hobbies like music, art, painting, so on and so forth. So such a great person is addressing the TMA this day. So I take this opportunity to welcome Engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer to this TMA. And our moderator for this program is Engineer Francis George, another technocrat, and he is the CEO of TMA, and he will be moderating the program. I take this opportunity and introducing the chief guest also. I take this opportunity to welcome Engineer Francis George to this meeting.
Hello, everyone.
Our secretary, C.J. Ponor, is here to propose vote of thanks. And also, C.A. Manoj Kumar, our honorary treasurer, is there. And I welcome C.J. Ponor and C.A. Manoj Kumar to this meeting. Our Vice President, Engineer Vinod Manjala, our Joint Secretary, Mr. Padabarki, they are also attending this meeting. I take this opportunity to welcome them to this meeting. And also our past presidents, like Gunawardhan IAS is attending this meeting. And I don't know what the other past presidents attending this meeting from these pictures. I take this opportunity to welcome all the, the CATS Andram sir is here, and most probably Venugopal sir will be there. I take this opportunity to welcome all the past presidents to this meeting. And also I take this opportunity to welcome all the management committee members and also members of TMA to attend this fruitful session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. V.M. Xavier. for your nice words of welcome. Hearty welcome, Dr. V.M. Savior, to this webinar.
Thank you.
Good evening. Once again, warm welcome to all to the webinar of Thrissur Management Association on Cybersecurity Simplified for All. Our beloved Chief Guest, Engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer, International Cybersecurity Specialist, Denver, Colorado, USA, Senior Vice President Dr. V.M. Savior, Vice President Engineer Vinod Manjula, Honorary Secretary Mr. Sijo Pono, Mr. Pradap Varki, Joint Secretary, CA Manoj Kumar, Treasurer, Francis George, CEO, past presidents of TMA, Managing Committee members, members of TMA, students. Today you might have been seeing an interesting news item in Malayalam Manorama. Twitter account of Barack Obama, Bill Gates hacked in USA. I think many of them have read this news. The news item is like this. Twitter of many other important personalities like Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, Joe Biden, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, all their Twitter account is hacked. And hackers send a message in the name of respective Twitter account holder mentioning if you send $1,000, if Warren Buffett is sending a Twitter message to us, definitely we will give $1,000. And surprisingly, they got 1.2 lakh crores in their Bitcoin wallet. Then I realized today's topic, cybersecurity simplified for all, is very relevant. TMA is always in forefront to bringing the topics of contemporary importance to our members. Today we are discussing on the topic, cybersecurity simplified for all, by eminent cybersecurity personnel, none other than our proud son of Thrissur, who hail from Thrissur, who reached at the level of world most sought after cybersecurity specialist, none other than our chief guest, Engineer Sangameswaran Manikkyam Iyer. Be proud of you, sir. You will be a motivation and inspiration and role model to many of us, especially to our students attending this program. Now they are all confident they can also reach to these heights. In the last couple of weeks, we are trying to connect Mr. Sangam through our CEO, Engineer Francis George. Finally, Sangam agreed to address our members from Denver, USA. He agreed to share his rich experience in cybersecurity with our members, and he will be introduced in detail by our CEO, Francis George, later. Thank you very much, Mr. Sangam, for joining with us today in your busy schedule. I think in your place, it is morning, isn't it?
That's right. It's around 8:10.
Yeah. We know you are addressing our members in early morning. We know that difficulty. Thank you very much for joining with us today. When we went to lockdown, we started our programs in virtual mode. Initially as a YouTube video, first of our kind was by our past president and former chairman of CSB Bank Limited, CATS Anandaraman sir, on the topic capital market on corona grip into the future. Then we moved to virtual platform COVID-19 an opportunity to digitally transform your business. By CA Vittalraj from Chennai. Still, many of our members are not joining to this platform because they are afraid of using this platform due to various security reasons, whether passwords stored in this and so on. I request Mr. Sangam, please touch upon the security aspects while using the platform like Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, WebEx, Zoom, and so on. It is a new normal. Now, many of them are working from home, and whether this will be compromised data security of this organization. How did they protect the data? I request Mr. Sangam to touch upon this aspect while working from home and studying from home. Also give some tips to protect our passwords. Before conclude, let me share some of our upcoming events of TMA. On 22nd of this month, that is Wednesday, session for student chapter members, Dream Your Goals by our engineer Mr. George. Further on 28th, we have one more training program for our staff in our organizations. It's a 3-hour program, how to create an inbound marketing strategy for your business. It is by Mr. Dagesh Goginathan from Chennai. And further on 1st August, we have a joint program with the Malappuram Management Association, living with the new normal in post-COVID world. That topic will be handled by Mr. S.R. Nair. I know many of our past presents are attending today's program, like C.A.T. Sanataraman sir, Gunavardhanan sir, IAS, and many more. Thank you very much for this busy schedule. In order to simplify the topic today's session, we planned the session in such a manner, something like a question answer session, so that such a hard topic like cyber security will be simplified further. Our CEO, AJ Francis, the bank will moderate this session. I request all our members to type your questions in chat box so that we can take those questions during the session. I am not standing in between you and our chief guest engineer Sangam. Before signing off, I would like to share an interesting fact about our chief guest. I have gone through his blog, Chullan Pattar blog. It's a very humorous. If time permits, I request all of you to go through that blog spot. Some of the topics I read, George Kuttiyum, Kumamiyar Kukkiyum. Similarly, one of the interesting ones, Shashikala in Chennai, a dangerous Pattar. So amazing. You are a stand-up, you can make some stand-up comedy. If time permits, do that. We are so happy to see that also. Wish you a very thank you very much for joining with us.
Yeah, so thanks for that warm welcome. Humble pranams to all people who are attending the session. So good evening to all of you, and good morning for me as well. So it's early morning for me. It is 8 o'clock. And I am so happy that I could be part of this illustrious group. Anything which comes from Thrissur is so close to my heart. So I just jumped on that opportunity and decided, yes, this is the right time to be part of this group and then share my experiences, address some queries, what you may have. So I will try to make sure that I don't have the American accent. So I will try to have this local Thrissur slangs and then Thrissur accents and stuff like that. So that's how it should
Mr.
be.
Sangam, before going to your session, may I request our CEO engineer Francis George, please introduce our guest and kindly take the session further forward. Or to Francis George.
Oh, sure. Thanks, CSONI. My name is Francis George. I'm the CEO of TMA. We are very fortunate to have our chief guest, Sangam, today, join us today. He's, as has already been divulged, he is a cybersecurity expert. Now, he used to, in his earlier job, he used to work for Symantec. Many of you may have heard that name. They antivirus software in their heyday. It was one of the most, it was one of the best IT security companies in the world at a certain point of time. Of course, after that, it got taken over and merged with other companies, etc., etc. Sangam has worked for a long time with Symantec as a principal specialist. Now, he becomes one of the foremost experts in IT security, right? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that. So thanks once again, Sangam, for taking your time out and joining us. Now, if you're not convinced, if the folks are not convinced about what I said just now, that he's one of the foremost experts, let me rattle out some of the accomplishments. He has all important certifications in cybersecurity. That includes GSEC, CISSP, CISM, CRISC, CCSK, VTSP, etc. There's a long list. He is on the board of several industry consortiums as a cybersecurity expert. He has conducted several radio and TV shows on this particular topic around the globe. In 2016, the House of Commons, the Canadian House of Commons, which is the lower house of the Parliament of Canada, had specially recognized him for conducting cybersecurity awareness and digital privacy and running digital privacy campaigns than 1,000 kids in the province of Ontario in Canada. He was also involved to speak at an international cybersecurity conference that was conducted in New Delhi. And there's a lot of other accomplishments. I don't want to waste your time, talking about all that. By now, I hope you're all convinced that he is one of the best out in cybersecurity. So without much ado, over to Sangam. I've been entrusted with the moderation of the session. So let me ask a question to start with. Sangam, for many of us, this whole thing, cybersecurity is a black box. I mean, we know it is important. We know to safeguard our own computers from getting hacked, and computers or mobile or tablet or whatever. Enough about what exactly it takes to safeguard ourselves, right? So first of all, to begin with, what is it that a cyber thief, so to say, hopes to get from our computer or mobile or tablet when he hacks into it, right? And what exactly does he do with that data? And how much of a risk or danger does it pose to us as a user when a hacker does that? Can you throw some light on that to begin with?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Francis, for that introduction. So, there is another relationship. Like Francis was my senior in Thrissur Engineering College as well. So he didn't mention that, but that was there as well. So, so just to put the perspective on that, so people or the bad people or people with bad intention are always after the data which is stored on your devices. So these devices could be your smartphone, your tablets, as well as your computers. Now, what are these data? Like, then we need to go a little bit deeper. So this data could be your online banking, could be your utility related details, or could be anything. Like this could be photos, this could be your private photos or your family photos, which you don't want to post it in public or in social media forums, as well as stuff like that, right? So these are data. So the data could be anything. Like it could be like the passwords, which are just input as a text file and then just save it. So anything which is in clear text. So there is a difference between clear text and encrypted text. So clear text is something what you type in Word or in a notepad, that is in clear text. So anyone can read it, and and they can get the information on that. So these passwords are actually keys to the kingdom. That means that using passwords which are stored in the device in an unencrypted format, that could be used for logging into social media sites like Twitter, for one of the examples, Facebook or Instagram or any of those social medias. And then people can actually use that for social fingerprinting. So there are two concepts in that. Like one is fingerprinting and the other one is social fingerprinting. So social fingerprinting is about identifying a person's social media habits and try to create a personality without knowing that person in person. Like if I don't know anyone who is participating here, if I go through their social media profiles, I'll get an idea of, okay, so this is that person. What is his interest? Like, does he like cricket, or does he like golf, or does he like to watch movies, or does he like politics, and which side of politics he is in? Is he left, right, or center, or any of those things? So just to get an idea on that. So once they do it, they can create a targeted attack. So targeted attack is like once you find out what this user's interests are, or that person's interests are, it could be a man, or it could be a woman, or it could be a child as well. So it is immaterial of that. So once they get the data, they can use the data for finding out what exactly this person does and get into the details. Now, when people want to get into other people's details, it could be on two reasons. One is either they could be a celebrity, or the other one could be a high net worth individual. A high net worth individual would be like someone who is really rich. So if they have this specific set of accounts, online banking and all those things, then definitely someone having access to those information can create a problem. So people can, like Instagram accounts getting, or iCloud getting compromised and stuff like that, the celebrity pictures and all those things, right? You see this in media, you see this in news, you read this on papers and stuff like that. So they are actually like these paparazzis, or they are actually after the celebrities. Now people with bad intention are not after celebrities. So they're going after like normal people to find out what kind of networks they have, and then try to mimic their interactions, and then try to get those insights. So when someone gets access into the data which is stored in your device, so this device could be anything, like as I mentioned, it could be the smartphone, it could be the tablet, or it could be the computer. They will get access to all these things. So once they get access, that is first part. Second part is then they can hijack the system. Once they hijack the system, that is when they remotely turn on the cameras or the webcams and stuff like that, and they can start recording and seeing what you guys are doing, and see what is happening in that specific room and stuff like that. So this becomes much more a privacy concern. So one is security aspect, the second aspect is the privacy thing. So to keep things in simple, so some of these approaches is having a device security. Device security means you should have a device password. And normally the device password, like on the phones, we have this as passcode. So passcode should not be simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be having more than 4 characters for sure, or 4 digits for sure. Try to make it alphanumeric, and you keep on changing it. It's the same with all passwords as well. Like if you don't keep changing password. Now, I think when I was introduced, it was mentioned that I should highlight the security aspects of online meetings, be it WebEx, Zoom, MS Teams, and stuff like that. So let me start from there. Like, how often does TMA change the Zoom meeting passwords?
Yes,
We'll do it tomorrow.
all
We'll do it
meetings have.
Okay, so that is pretty good. Like it's better to have unique passwords for each of the sessions, so that someone having access to this meeting ID, but the password is different, it is fine. And I also see that there are other restrictions, like when someone joins, the host or the co-host will have to approve, and then they have to authorize them to get into that. So all these things are linked. So it could be like compromising your privacy within the information residing. Let's say your banking information is saved on the app. So then the problem would be like, then anyone having access to the device can have access to those information as well, which could be a problem. The other thing is, which is more critical, is health information. Let's say you are a patient, and then you have some medical history and stuff like that, and you save that information on your system. It could be a Word, PDF, or any of like a text file, or any of those things. Someone having access to that. So there is a slight difference between your credit card information getting compromised and your health information getting compromised. Because credit card information, once the credit card number changes, everything changes. So then they can't use the credit card, or if the card is hot-listed, then they can't use it on any online merchant sites, and they cannot make any purchases. So you cannot face any damage because of that. But health information does not change overnight. So someone who is diabetic does not become non-diabetic overnight, right? So he or she becomes a target for pharmaceutical companies or related companies who can target their products to that kind of individual. Now, so we have to be really careful how often we make sure that we don't save it in clear text, or if we are saving it in clear text, are we moving it to a specific folder and making sure that no one has access to that. So all those things has to be taken care. Now this has to be practiced in real life as well. So, okay, we went to a hospital for some checkup, or we went for some treatment. And after the treatment, we came back with a discharge summary and all those things. We might just keep the file on the table, and then we might just go inside and watch a TV and all those things. So we may not know who is coming inside the house, or maybe someone, it might be a friend who is coming there and then taking a look at, oh, this is some file. Can I take a look at it? Because people are by nature inquisitive in finding out what others are doing, or what is happening with others' lives, rather than having an introspection of finding out what is happening in their own lives. So they might take a look at the hospital discharge summary, and they might take a screenshot, they might take a picture, because nowadays all of us carry cameras in our pockets by the form factor of a mobile phone or a smartphone. So we take a picture, or that person might take a picture. They can go out, and then they are not taking the physical information. So they are not moving that file, but they are going out and they send it into different WhatsApp groups, saying that, oh, this person is having this ABC kind of diagnosis. So can we target them? We don't know, right? Like we can have a feeling that all people are good people, but we don't know what they might be doing. So it's always better to be safe. So please keep all these medical records and all those things under safe custody. So these are the things people are after, like finding out what is stored in that device and what all transactions are happening, and if there is any health information. So in the dark web, so dark web is the place where this kind of information gets traded, and dark web is a place where law enforcement, like the police, they are actively monitoring to find out what exactly is going on. So this kind of trading happens majorly in the dark web. So in the dark web, a credit card number can be purchased for like $50, and then a health record might fetch more, like around 10, 15, 20, $25, because it does not change, right? Overnight, they cannot change and all those things. So everything is linked with that. So we have to be careful with that. And another thing is like passwords. You have to keep on changing it. So if you don't change it, then it loses the relevance, it loses the purpose of having a good password. So you have to keep all those things in mind. So password has to be changed, and you need to have a minimum number of characters in a password. It could be uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and all those things. And most importantly, how often you change. So passwords should be something which is easy for you to remember, but tough for someone else to find out or hack or guess. So you have to keep all these things in mind. So I will just stop there, and then we can go into the next topic.
Francis, please unmute.
Oops, sorry. Thanks, Sangam. That was a good, quick overview to start with. Now, in the context of IT security, we keep, phishing is one of them, encryption, then ransomware, etc. So can you, just so that we can all make sense when we come across articles or warnings in this respect, can you throw some light on that, what some of these common terms mean in simple terms?
Yeah, sure. So phishing is something which is done for information harvesting. So information harvesting is collecting someone's information without their willingness, or tricking them to share their information. So that is phishing. So phishing happens through email. So you might get an email which says, hey, your account with so-and-so bank, I'm not taking any names. So your account with so-and-so bank has been locked or frozen because you are involved in some illegal activities, and you are under monitoring. So people get scared. So what they do is they won't even check the authenticity of the sender of that email. It doesn't take more than a minute to find out, or use the common sense to find out whether this sender is a genuine sender or this was sent by a domain which is not linked with that bank at all, which is easy to find out. So all these emails have header information. So you can find out from the header from where it has come. So there are a lot of examples. You just Google it saying that phishing emails examples. You get a lot of nice infographics which clearly says what's a good email and what is a suspicious looking email. So this email will have a link. So there are 3 categories there as well. So either if you are opening the email, it might send a response back. If you are clicking on that link, it will give another response back. If you are clicking and you are entering your personal details in that, it will send another information. So these are different layers on that. So what happens is that a phishing email will be crafted with a suspicious site. A suspicious site will look exactly similar to the banking website. So recreation of any banking website using tools and all those things which will look exactly the similar is easy. But there are some things called certificates. So certificate based identification of those websites which belong to the real organization like XYZ Bank or ABC Bank. So they will have those information. So you won't get the info. So you won't submit the information into the phishing site. So the phishing site, the hacker would be setting up a server for capturing this information. So the user will click on the link saying that, oh, I want my account to be unfrozen, or I want my account to be active. So they went into they go into the link, enter their username and password. So what happens? So here comes the twist. So what happens is that the hacker would have created the timer saying that they just need to be sure that the password is correct. So what they will do is like they will force you to enter first time, second time, and third time. So first time they say username, password not matching. So you will get panicked. So you will enter the username, password. So 3 times you enter the same thing, the hacker will know that this is the real password. So they will capture the information and saying that thank you. They will have a pop-up message which says, thank you, your account is verified, you can be happy. So the account is compromised. So this is phishing. So there are a lot of ways in which, so there are a lot of anti-phishing softwares which can be enabled on a lot of emails. So organizations can have an anti-phishing server or anti-phishing solution to make sure that they can actually block this kind of messages, filter those messages and stuff like that. So there are a lot of techniques which are currently happening. It's like even before the user is clicking on that, there are automated ways to find out when they click, does it go to a specific server or not, or what kind of server it goes to. All these things can be done by the solution itself. So that is phishing, and there is a prevention for that. The other one is like ransomware. So ransomware is something like, if you think about the old Jose Prakash movies. So Jose Prakash movies, like he might be kidnapping someone and sending the note saying that your person is kidnapped. So this is the ransom. You pay 1 lakh and then we will release the person. So that is ransom. So ransom and software have combined together in the digital age. So what happens is that ransomware, they will infect your system and then they will delete the files, lock the system, and you will not get access to that. And then they say that there will be a pop-up message in your system saying that your system is controlled by us. If you want it to be released, pay this much. And that this much have to be paid in Bitcoin. So it is also nice, like you cannot trace the Bitcoin, so it is perfectly fine and stuff like that. So that is ransomware. The other category is crypto ransomware. Crypto ransomware is slightly more dangerous because crypto ransomware comes with an encryption protocol or encryption routine. So encryption is like conversion of your plain text into ciphertext. So a simple example is like you have rice, you grind it, you make it the maavu. So from the maavu, you cannot find out from which rice it was made. It's the same thing, like you grind the rice and you make the maavu and then you make dosa or idli. By eating the idli, you cannot say that, oh, this is from double horse or this is made from this one. You cannot make that out. So it is not that much easy. So in encryption, a reverse is slightly different. So that is why we call it as a one-way function. One-way function means it always goes in one way. Like you smoke cigarette, then smokes will come, but you cannot smoke smokes and cigarette will never be made out of that. So it's the reverse or the converse does not happen like that. So a one-way function is mainly to make sure that the reverse or the reverse engineering is not applicable. So what they do is from a crypto ransomware, they will encrypt the system so that you cannot have access. And these people also are really professional, or they appear to be really professional. They'll say that if you want, we can give you a key so that you can decrypt 5 files so that you know that this works, and then you pay us more. So you pay $100 first, and then after you see that everything is fine, you pay maybe more. So then they know that you will be paying because you need the data. So there are some remediation measures, or there are some standard approaches. One is obviously having a good setup backup routine. So you need to constantly back up the data which is on your system onto a USB drive or to a network drive or to a cloud storage and stuff like that. So whatever happens to the system, you are not impacted. And the second thing is never pay ransom, because if you pay ransom, then the party on the other end will know that yes, this person is willing to pay more, so let me increase. Let's say that okay, you are ready. In the old case, like if you are ready to pay, Jose Prakash was decent, like you pay 1 lakh, he will release the person in the movie. But in the case of ransomware, it does not get released like that. So if you're ready to pay 100, it might go to 500. If you're ready to pay 500, it might go to $1,000. So never pay ransom for that. So there are different ways and means in which you can protect. And there are a lot of traditional, or there are a lot of standard endpoint security solutions available which you can use it. So that will block and that will maintain. All these things are possible.
All right, thanks, Sangam. Just a reminder to everyone once again, as Sangam speaks on a particular topic, if you have any questions related to that particular topic which is being spoken about, please do type the question in the chat box, and we can take up those questions. There's one which is not directly related, but just going through the questions. One question that I saw is, how safe is storing passwords in iPhone? And the one more that came up is a world without passwords possible at all?
Yeah, so there are 3 things. One is, don't save your passwords on your device. So use a password vault. I think one of the participants had typed in saying that use password vault. Yeah, password vault is safe, but you have to keep some things in mind. So there are a lot of spywares which looks like password vaults. So be extremely careful from where you download. Look at the reputation of the download, and then you start using it. And all this password vault. So password vault is like it's like a bank locker. So you keep all your passwords in your locker, and then you have a master key. So there is slight difference there because only you have the key. In the case of bank locker, you will have a key, and the branch manager or the bank manager will have the second key. So you need to have both keys. So in the case of password vault, you will have a master key. Make sure that master key is the toughest, because it's the key to the kingdom. It's like you have 5 houses and each of the house have the same master key, and you lose the master key, then anyone who wants to access all these 5 houses can definitely get access to all these 5 houses with that. So you have to be very clear. So there are a lot of spywares, there are a lot of Trojans which are there in the market. So be extremely careful what kind of password vaults you use. You can use LastPass, you can use Norton Identity Safe. So these are some of the examples. And is there a way, like, so don't store your passwords on your device. It's not safe. And don't store the passwords on the browser. So if you are using Chrome as a browser, you will get an option, remember the password. So please don't do that. And also, there are a lot of plugins, or there are a lot of extensions of Chrome which has been found vulnerable, or which has been found spying on users. So be extremely careful. So CERT, which is Computer Emergency Response Team in India, had released a notification which says there are around 100 plus Google Chrome extensions are found vulnerable. So you have to be extremely careful what you download, for what purpose you have. Plugins and extensions always help in in making our lives easier, but you have to be very careful from where you download. Okay, that is one thing. So is there a world with without passwords possible? Yes, that is the way in which world is moving forward, because there is a lot of identity proofing. So identity proofing is another concept where one person, one identity. The problem with India is like it's happening in different phases. So we don't have one person, one identity. We have other, but it may not be linked with all the other details. So then it is not a one person, one identity, right? So there is a problem with that. But other developed countries like US, Canada, or European countries, UK, Germany, Australia, the advantage there is only one person, one identity. So if you have a social security number, or if you have a driver's license number, you can track a person, and no two persons will have the same identity, and one person cannot have two identities. So the identity proofing is much more easier in those advanced countries or developed countries. Now, even after having that, there are a lot of places in which you can compromise that, and then you can leave that information out in plain sight and stuff like that. So it is a different topic. But yes, the way in which world is moving forward is a passwordless identity proofing, wherein which that identity would be used, and third-party identity providers would act as, like, we call it as a federated identity. So that can be used as an identification. So let's say banks can act as your identity provider. So you log into a bank, and from there you access. So bank will have all your identification information. You log into the bank, they will have a series of questions like OTPs, multi-factor and stuff like that. And once they know it is you who are trying to access, maybe a government website, so they will give access to that. So the banks will pass on the information to the government website, and so that's how it works. So passwordless, yes, it is possible.
All right. Sorry, there was a slight bandwidth was broken in between.
Okay.
Yes, Sangam, that was very good explanation. You know, it's really interesting to know that some of the common tools that we use, like a Chrome browser, it keeps offering to save passwords all the time, right? Yet it is not safe to do that, is what you said. Now, along the similar lines, there are a lot of common applications that we use on the mobile phone. Recently, India banned 59 different applications, you know, because of the safety concerns, and also because they were Chinese origin and whatnot. There was a lot of discussion in India about the safety and security of this particular platform that we're using right now, Zoom. So can you shed some light on the safety and security aspects of Zoom? And also your opinion about, you know, the banning of these applications like TikTok, the 59 different applications. You know, what kind of vulnerabilities do those apps pose to our mobile phone? Can you throw some light on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So, okay, I don't want to go into the politics of banning those apps. Okay, so let me be very clear. I will come from a technology background. So,
of course, yeah.
So, because then overnight I might become a celebrity. I don't want that. So, so all these apps which are banned due to many reasons. The obvious reasons is all these things are originating from a specific geography or specific country. Now, there is no clear indication where the data is stored. Now, whether the data is stored in that specific country from where it originates, in this case, it was China. So these Chinese apps, are they collecting information from people and then storing it in their servers? There was not much of clarity. So the apps in those category, like around 59 apps, were predominantly Chinese origin. And then I don't think Zoom was in that banned list, because Zoom is not of Chinese origin, because the CEO is from China, but he is in US, so he's a US citizen. He came for his studies and stuff like that. So so that's the reason for that. So now, so all these apps So let's take TikTok for example. TikTok is a good fun tool or fun app and stuff like that. But we have to keep in mind that anything which is fun or which is free, it is the people or their information which is getting traded there, or we are the product which is being sold. If there is anything which is free to us, we are the product which is being sold. It's the same thing for all social media platforms. So TikTok is one of those examples. It's very nice. It's fun. A lot of people became celebrities in TikTok. I saw one discussion where there were a lot of TikTok celebrities sharing their experience, life before banning and life after banning TikTok and stuff like that. So this is interesting. But the problem with that is, so we know that social media collects a lot of information from people, or the people who are subscribing to that, or people who are signing in for that social media usage. The problem with that is they collect some information. So Facebook is already in fire for collecting information, trying to influence elections and our opinions and stuff like that. So this is something which is out there in the public. We saw that all those things happening live on congressional hearings and stuff like that. So, but TikTok was capturing more information and it was getting stored. What information was getting shared, what information was getting stored, it was slightly risky, and it was over a non-encrypted channel. So non-encrypted channel, anyone could actually intercept and see what is happening. So I have to explain what is a non-encrypted channel. A non-encrypted channel is like, think about in the 70s and 80s, when we had postcards. So postcard, you send a letter to someone else. It might go through Muttaram Kunnu PO or whatever PO it is. That is fine. But anyone in the entire chain can actually read what is written in the postcard. So an unencrypted channel of communication means anyone can actually interfere, snoop, and see what exactly is going on, because then they can see everything happens in clear text. Now, you have to keep in mind all email transactions which we do over internet, over free emails, are happening over clear text. So if it is not encrypted, if it is not encrypted using a specific certificate or key, anyone can actually see in the entire transit, finding out what exactly is going on. So what happens is that in this non-encrypted transaction, it was easier to find that he has actually done all these things possible, and then making sure that these things are protected. So that is happening over a unencrypted channel. So TikTok there was a lot of security articles on that saying that TikTok actually send this information over an unsecure channel for storage. So anyone could actually intercept and find out what's going on. The other thing with TikTok is that even though our sound or our voice and all those things were masked by the videos or those by the audios in the background, we never know, like they can store it, right? So when they store it, they can store a video sample, they can store an audio sample. So all these things can be possible because they are listening to whatever we are saying. This can be used for multiple things. Let's say, I will give another example saying that you might get a blank call on your phone, on your mobile phone. You might say hello, 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 3-4 times, and they say, who is this? Who is this? So the person on the other end can actually record that conversation and use that voice sample for voice authentication systems like banking. Can be used for that as an identification purpose to bypass certain security controls. Can be used for multiple manipulation techniques. So you get an audio sample, you can do multiple things. I don't need to go into the details, but you can do multiple things. So these apps were banned mainly because of that, like where the data is residing, data residency. Should the data from Indian consumers reside outside India? That's a big question. So data residency or data privacy is a bigger concern. So that may be one of the reasons it was blocked. And then obviously there are other reasons because of the border tension and stuff like that. So this is something which has to kept in mind. So this Chinese internet censorship is world famous because you cannot have encrypted traffic exiting from mainland China to internet. They will have to decrypt that, monitor what is happening, and then only they will allow the internet access, because internet censorship is pretty strong there. So once the information or the data is residing in Chinese servers, getting access to that is pretty tough because they may not release. They might clearly say that, yes, we are not going to share this information. They will not release that. So you have to keep that in mind. So that is one thing. And the second thing is on the Zoom itself, like Zoom got into fire because they were accused of routing the traffic through Chinese servers. But right now, if you see on the Zoom meeting, there is an icon which has a check mark. There is an icon on the left corner if you are accessing from your laptop. You can see an indication which say information. So you click on these two places, then you can clearly see whether the traffic is routed through any of the servers. So if I see this, this session, you are connected to Zoom global network via data centers in India. So that means even if I am connecting, the entire transaction traffic and everything within Zoom is happening in the Zoom data centers in India. So it is not getting routed through China. So that concern should not be a problem. Now for any online meeting or any of these remote meetings, it's a common thing is that change the passwords often, allow only people whom you know, so that people cannot brute force. Brute force is like people just push into or people just push their way into getting access to a specific meeting. So that is what brute force is. So brute force cannot happen because passwords are changed and you are following the best practices and stuff like that. So it's much more better to have it in a secure way. So everything is safe and secure if you use it in a safe and secure way. So it is as good as that. Like it could be like you can drive a Rolls Royce saying that, oh, it is ultimately safe, but if you decide to drive it over a cliff on the way to like Kudaran, and then you fall from the cliff, you are not going to be protected. Like there might be airbags and stuff like that, but it is not going to help. So you need to have that kind of safe practices, even if you are using some best of the breed security products and technologies. So the basic thing is practice security and then make sure that you follow the best practices.
Thanks, Sangam. Changing the passwords is something that definitely we need to get used to. We're going to change the Zoom password, right after this call, right? That's something that we commit to from TMA. Now, there are a couple of things that
Yeah, we are getting more questions, right? Which is good.
One of the questions that is in the chat box. You said something about the free emails not being encrypted in transit, right? Free emails like Gmail. In contrast, when we look at WhatsApp, we often see the message that somebody is encrypted end to end. So does that mean that WhatsApp messages are more safe compared to email? That's one of the questions that has come up.
Yeah, so WhatsApp messages are much more secure because there is an end-to-end encryption. So there is no way you can intercept that and then find out what's going on. So that means that it is much more secure than most of the free emails what we use, web mails what we use. So that is for sure, because then any time when there is a secure code which is changing for this WhatsApp, you have to keep that in mind that yes, WhatsApp, make sure that you do the CR code, and then making sure that you just make sure that this is the right person. You can always do that. So end-to-end encryption will make sure that only the sender and the recipient can see that. So this was the reason why WhatsApp is much more dangerous, because law enforcement cannot monitor what exactly is going on with that, right? So, and WhatsApp you can fake also. There are a lot fake WhatsApp creators. So you can create fake WhatsApp and then say that this happened or this did not happen, and then that is how you will see in the media two sides of the story, where one person would say yes, this has happened, then the other party might say it happened in a different way. So you cannot believe that unless you see it on the source or the target machine. That means on the phone. You cannot make sure that this is the real one, and it cannot be intercepted. So this was the reason why some of the agencies were saying that yes, we should have WhatsApp decryption servers within the country, so that we should be able to monitor, which is fair ask, because a lot of bad activities can happen over WhatsApp as well, because no one can monitor, right? You cannot trace a location, you cannot trace what exactly they are communicating and stuff like that. Even WhatsApp calls is a big problem, right? That is why certain countries WhatsApp calling is disabled, because it is getting blocked.
Okay, thanks, Sangam. I can see that when you talked about encryption and the features in email and WhatsApp, it is generating a lot of interest. One thing that came up, I'll hold on to the question that I had in mind a little earlier. Before that, one of the questions that came up in the chat window is, now WhatsApp, we understand it is encrypted and it's safe. Gmail may not be that safe as we thought it to be. What about cloud, Google Drive, offered by G Suite or Google? How safe is that? Is the question. That's something that we very commonly use in India.
Yeah, sure. So see, all these things like G Drive uses your Google account for logging in. So if you don't have the best practice policies for accessing G Suite or Google account, be it Gmail, G Drive, Blogger, and all those things, you don't have multi-factor, then it will be a problem. So you can use multiple things, like you can use a USB key. So a USB key is like this, you can see. So a USB key can be used. So once you enter the USB key on your computer, then only it will allow you to log in. And you cannot log in from any other device, because only you have the key, right? You log in and someone tries to log in from Mumbai, or someone tries to log in from Nigeria. It won't let that login to go through, because you are registered that. So this USB key which I showed, it's a hyper secure or secure key, which can be used for multiple things, even for your social media accounts and stuff like that. So you can do that, or you can have a Google authenticator on your phone and use that 6-digit number. It's a one-time password which keeps refreshing every 20 or every 30 seconds as a second factor for login. So you enter your username, password, and then you enter this code. So your access is much more secure. So if you have that kind of protection for your Google account, accessing G Drive or accessing G Suite, Gmail, everything is secure, right? So you have to practice doing something similar to that. And then if you have a Google authenticator, or if you get a OTP on your phone for logging into a Google services, never forward that to anyone else. Please try to make it safe and secure.
All right, thanks. So two-factor authentication is the key to protecting data when you deal with Google and Gmail, right? Now, talk about two-factor authentication, and also tying back to what you said earlier about banking security, right? You mentioned that your voice could be captured by an application like TikTok that can be used for voice recognition, which can aid online banking in certain countries. Now, that's not, as far as I know, that's not possible in India. So this, connecting these two things together, what I would like to ask is, how safe is online banking? And now also let me bring into context the fact that two-factor authentication is a mandate by RBI for online banking in India, for banking transactions in India. So given that, so you always got to have a OTP. In addition to signing into your online banking with a password, you got to have OTP authentication to make a transaction. So since that two-factor authentication is in place, is a mandate in India, given that, how safe is online banking, specifically for India, and also, how safe is it generally in the world? Because that's one of the key concerns that people have. Many people stay away from online banking because of the security concerns.
Yeah, sure. So before COVID and after COVID, the world is going to be totally different. So with COVID, we might have to do more online banking, cashless transactions, and stuff like that. So online banking is safe, provided you adopt the safe practices when you are accessing online banking. Plus, the banking software should also support this kind of accesses. So what happens is that, so traditionally, like when online banking started, they only had username, password. But the problem with that, with online username and password, like anyone could hack that username and password and then get access to that. Then the second phase started by saying that, okay, instead of forcing the users to enter the password, let's give a floating keyboard. So the floating keyboard will be displayed on the screen, and you have to choose the passwords, choose the password characters by clicking on those specific areas within the screen, and then used to enter. And they used to randomize the keyboard. So first keyboard, virtual floating keyboard would be QWERTY. The other one could be A, B, C, D, E, F, and then it would be randomized again and again so that it will not be mimicked. So, but what happened is that then keyboard logging Trojans or screen scrapers. So screen scrapers are like Trojans, which will get infected on the computer, and then they can actually record the screen and then play it back and send this information to their hacker's website, and hacker can actually get these videos and then they can actually play it back. So this OTP is another way of bypassing that security concern or bypassing that security lapse. So with OTP, if you are not sharing the OTP with anyone else, chances of break-in is pretty less. But you have to keep in mind that OTP is also a 6-digit number. We have not gone beyond that 6-digit. Like, so you go to a ATM machine. Why the ATM machines still have only 4-digit PIN? So there should be a reason for that. Why they still keep as 4-digit pins, right? Why they don't have more than 4 digits? So there is a reason for that. So the other thing is, if you have more security, like you keep changing the passwords and then you know from where you are accessing. If you're accessing from your personal machine, you say that you permit that system for accessing. So it will save the cookie and information from that. So then you cannot, anyone trying to access from any other website, you will get an alert. So setting alerts and monitoring alerts is of importance here, because if you don't set alerts for suspicious login or log out and all those things, then you won't know what is happening if someone else is doing that. We all saw a news article where a 16-year-old kid was using their parents' mobile phone for accessing online classes, but they used 16 lakhs. They spend that on PUBG. So you have to keep all those things in mind, because whenever the alerts and all those things came, like all the messages, he deleted from the phone, from the parents' phone. So the parents didn't even realize this has happened. To me, the parents did not employ the basic security things, like they should have set alerts to multiple emails. So the husband and wife should get alert, so that text message should be sent and email alert should be sent. All those things you can set thresholds depending on what bank you are doing. Most of the banks, they have this fraud prevention or this kind of prevention techniques where you can set your own alerts saying that 2,500 rupees and more, or 2,000, like 5,000 rupees and more, you get an alert and stuff like that. So there are different techniques which can be used. So online banking, that is the most successful approach. And of course, you need to have a good security protection for the device from where you are accessing as well. And then you should always keep patching, update the patches, upgrade the patches and stuff like that, because patching is all about patching the weaknesses what you have on the system. So you need to definitely have. So as long as there is world, there will be security vulnerabilities, there will be security weaknesses, and we need to create patches, and we need to make sure that we can actually bridge that gap and then make sure that all these accesses are happening over a secure channel.
Right, that makes sense. So it's the prudence that matters a lot for safeguarding your own device, right? Laptop or mobile or whatever. Now, there's a very interesting came up when we had an internal discussion a couple of days back. A lot of TMA members are chartered accountants. Typically, a problem that is faced by where maybe 10, 15, 20 people work, many CA practitioners work. A lot of sensitive client data sits on the computers in Sorry, I think I got disconnected.
I think,
Am I audible?
yeah, you are
So,
losing in between, Francis.
yes. So what I was asking is, office computers in many people's offices, right? How do you make sure that this is protected? I mean, how do you prevent people from just carrying data home? They might be stick, a memory stick, and carry it home, or they Google Drive folder, and they can take the data, potential data of the clients.
Mm-hmm.
What are the safeguards against that?
Yeah,
for
sure.
small phones,
Mm-hmm.
not getting into expensive IT solutions, security solutions. What is easily?
Yeah, sure. So, okay. So that's an interesting discussion because now we are shifting gears and then we are moving into a concept called data loss prevention. So a data loss prevention is like preventing exfiltration of data. So exfiltration of data. So we have seen in many movies, right? Many movies or Netflix, now it is available in India as well. So we have seen Netflix series and stuff like that. So there are 4 phases for any successful operation. Like when I say operation means, let's say a military operation. So you have 4 different phases, or a secret operation like from commandos and stuff like that. There are 4 different phases. So discovery, infiltration, capture, exfiltration. So these are the 4 different phases. So discovery is finding out where the people are hiding or where the kidnapped person is. Then infiltration is getting into the place where they are hiding. Capture is like capturing the person who has been kidnapped, and exfiltration is like successfully getting back home or getting back to the base from the. So this is what happens from a normal commando operation and stuff like that. So in the case of data, or in the case of cybersecurity, these 4 phases are applicable, like discovery, infiltration, capture, exfiltration. So discovery, like anyone having access to that computer, if they are using the same login and there is no folder protection and all those things which are being put, they will have access to everything. So it's like a free Monday for anyone who having access to that specific computer. Second thing is, like, once they know there is data that is discovered, then data capture happens. So data capture means, now they will have a mind, okay, I need to take this customer information from here outside. So 2 ways they can take it out. Okay, 4 ways they can take it out. So first way is try to send it as an email attachment. That you can block by having proper email filter with those keywords and the patterns, data patterns. We call it as data pattern. So user data pattern would be like specific, like user, not user, customer number. So customer name, address, phone number, their PAN number, their Aadhaar number, all those identification things, right? So that will be one line. Then the second line will be for second customer. So that will be the pattern. So based on the data pattern, we can actually create that rule on the emails so that we can block that when they try to send it as an email attachment. So that is one option. Second way of taking this data exfiltration is like copy it over a USB and then say, sir, I'm going home. Bye bye. I won't come from tomorrow. Thank you. You have seen in one movie in which Jagati was being fired from a workshop and he actually wanted to carry a couple of spanners with him. So it is as simple as that. You can copy the information on a USB and then say, namaste, I'm going, and then they can take it out. So that is another data exfiltration. The third thing is they can take a screenshot using their mobile phone. When the data is displayed on the screen, they can take a picture. You cannot block that. There is no technical way of blocking that. Fourth thing is they can take a printout and take the paper with them. So they don't know. So we don't know the data is going out. So these are 4 different ways in which you can take data from that specific computer, right? Now you can block printing specific set of files or documents from that computer. You can do that. So that is another technique which can be used for blocking that. For copying it over to a USB drive, you can create another policy with the same data pattern saying that user customer name, address, phone number, Aadhaar, PAN number. If this matches, it cannot be copied. So you can put that policies, and then it cannot be copied on a USB drive. But the most dangerous is like taking a screenshot or taking a picture using the mobile phone. You cannot do. So this is one of the reasons why some of the call centers or the backend processing centers, they don't allow personal mobile phones into the floor. They actually keep it safe before they enter into the floor, before they enter the shift. So this is the reason for that, because once they do it, then there is no technology which can actually block that, right? Because no screen will go blank when you are actually pointing a camera towards that. So that is not possible. So these are some of those things. Now for all these things, you have to keep in mind, you need to have a good identity and access management. So identity and access management, any new trainee coming in or any new person who is coming on for training, they need to be assigned a specific username and password or identity to enter into that system. So they use their username password to log in. Once they log in, then their access within the system has to change, because you need to provision that. So they will not have access to that, or they will have only read access. They cannot modify, they cannot copy. So these things can be set as part of that.
All right. Thank you, Sangam. We are running out of time. So I'm going to switch to some of the generic questions that I've been I noticed earlier, and I thought of waiting for the end. So one of them is, what is the best connecting machines remotely? Some diagnosis and things like that.
Okay, so accessing machines remotely in a secure way.
Yep.
Yeah, so there are different tools. Like most of these tools have an encrypted channel between from which machine you are trying to access, and then from to which machine you are accessing. So the entire channel is communicated with the best in the industry encryption standards. So RDP is one of those things, like remote desktop from Microsoft is one of those kind of tools. So you can use VNC. So these are different. Technologies, or there are different kinds of tools which are available for doing that. These are some of the examples. You can have a safe and secure access.
What about some of the other, screen sharing tools? Like it's not exactly screen sharing. It's also taking control of your machine. When let's say you make a call to Dell. If you're using a Dell computer, you place a call to Dell. They might remotely take control of your machine, right? And there are free available.
Yeah, exactly. So when you are giving control, or when you are letting someone else to remotely control your machine, always have this basic safe practice. Don't let them control when you are not there. So that means when they are controlling, okay, I'll take a break, let me have a coffee, or let me have my lunch and come back, then you won't know what is happening. Now, all these organizations have strict policies. So they'll be recording the entire session as what all that remote person was doing on your system. So it is accountable and it is auditable. So they are definitely getting audited. They're getting accountable for what they're doing on that remote support session. So remote support sessions are good, and just make sure that they are using, you can always ask, are you using an encrypted tool for accessing my system to fix my problem? Or if you are not, then you have the right to say, I don't want your help. So you should be able to find out another support source which can give you an encrypted or a safe and secure way of taking remote control and then fix it. But keep in mind that when they are trying to fix it, don't have your confidential information displayed on the screen. So it's a standard practice that they will ask you, if there is any private or personal information on the screen, please close that. That is their standard call script. So it is still okay.
All right. I think one last question that we will discuss from the generic section posted so far. There's a question from Selvam asking, please advise about the security of Linux-based open source email servers. Is it basically secure by default, or can we make it more secure with third-party tools? Now, I think that this question assumes higher significance, because especially in schools and educational institutions, we are seeing a trend of Windows-based solutions to Linux solutions, Linux and Ubuntu and other versions of Linux, right? And the schools may not be in a position to have expensive solutions for IT security. So this question is significant from that point of view also.
Yeah, sure. So anything which is open source, the problem with that is open source is available for all. All means even good people and bad people. So the bad people can run tools against it and see what is the weakness, what is the vulnerability and stuff like that, and then they can create the tools. So that is with open source. So open source problem is that. So that is the reason why you see more Android based attacks, because Android is open source. So you will see more kind of attacks happening on Android. I'm not saying iOS is safe and secure. iOS also faces their own attack. The attack vectors are different, but all these things will have to be kept in mind. So now Linux open source based mail servers or application servers which are being used for multiple purposes, they have good amount of protection, but you should always do an audit on that. There are a lot of tools which can scan the system and see what are the gaps, what are the loopholes, what are the missing patches and stuff like that. And then you should put more controls on top of that. Then it is good, because let it be open source, but you should make it secure. If you cannot make it secure, then running open source is a recipe for a perfect disaster. So you have to keep that in mind. There are a lot of tools like scanning tools, like Nessus is one of the tool, like I just used a name. So Nessus is one of the tool which can be used for scanning any type of machine and see what's the kind of vulnerability. There are a lot of vulnerability scanners. So vulnerability scanner would actually do the scanning and find out this patch is missing, or this password is not complex, this password is not changed for the past 30 days. I would highly recommend using any of those tools for running the scan, and then make sure that you are actually changing those things. So you have to keep those things in mind. Online learning is another problem, because there are different ways in which data can be captured and exfiltrated from those online learning as well. The other tip to that is, like, if kids are attending the session, make sure that on the video, like some of the teachers say that yes, they should be sharing the video, turning on the camera from their devices and all those things. It is perfectly fine, but make sure that the camera is actually facing a wall where they are not exposing too much of information on like what's going on behind, right? Like they're sitting in the kitchen, there are some discussions happening with both the parents or with other kids in the background. So all these things are information which is not required to be shared. So we have to keep that in mind. The other thing is with online learning, the other concern what most of the people have is, like, I am giving my devices, or I'm giving smart devices to my kids, because online learning, they need that. So how am I protected? How do I know what my kids are doing? So the best thing is talk with your kids. That is the best approach. But you should always have tools in hand or available handy with you, so that you can also monitor what is going on. Like olden days, like when I was growing up, like I will just tell my parents I'm just going out, or I'm just going out for a movie, watching in Ramdas Theatre and stuff like that. So I used to live close to Ramdas Theatre, so that's my background. So it becomes easier for me to just tell and go. Like, so I never used to deviate. So sometimes, like, I will go, but I may not go to watch the movie, and then we decide, let's go to Swapna or let's go to Joe's. So this is how it used to happen. So similarly, the kids, when they get the smart devices, they will say, oh yeah, we are going to log into the call. They will log into the call, but they might do something else on the back end. So there are different app-based controls which you can put, saying that only this, let's say Google Classroom or Google Classroom or Zoom and all these things, I will permit only these 3 or 4 applications from that device. Then it is good, because using Zoom, they can log in only to their school or some other Zoom session, but they cannot do anything. They cannot do Amazon shopping, or they cannot do anything from that device. So we have to practice that. So trust the kids, but always be cautious. So it's like, I'm not saying have a suspicious approach towards your kids. Don't do that. What I'm saying is trust your kids, but always put your judgment or your precautions on top of that. Ultimately, you are trying to prevent or you are trying to protect your kids, right? So you should definitely try to make sure that that is safe. Then there are other aspects to that. One is preventing your kids from any kind of attacks or any kind of things. And the second thing is you should not let your kids do an attack on some other kids or some other person, because in internet, anonymity is the big thing. Like a 5-year-old, not a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old kid can pretend to be a 60-year-old man, as well as a 70-year-old man can be like a 16-year-old girl as well, right? Online. So you can see a lot of Gangas in daily life becoming Nagavallis online. So you can see all those things happening. So it's always better to have that kind of app-based protection on those devices, so that you keep doing that. The other thing is having a good filtering on the home network. There are a lot of tools, like most of these today's wireless routers will have that feature. So you can specify specific websites, you can block the URLs. So you can select a category saying that adult websites are blocked. You can do that. You can do all those things as well. So you have to keep all those things in mind, because online learning, it is changing it is a paradigm shift, right? Because we have never seen this kind of a change before. So kids are definitely going to explore that. You cannot say that don't use smart device, then they'll be left out. So use the smart device, but have those basic hygienes, and then you put those security controls on top of it, monitor once in a while. Because all across the world, like, you cannot monitor kids who are more than 16. It is a privacy violations in other countries. So but in India, like, we would like to see and know what's happening, right? Like in other places of the world, it's not like that. You have to ask their permission to ask them whether I can come to your school to meet your teacher and all those things, which we never faced it as when we were kids, right? Like our parents used to come and meet and all those things. So it's slightly different.
Right. Sangam, is there any app that you recommend for on the mobile phone for controlling access to other apps?
Yeah, sure. So there is a good app called Our Pact. So Our Pact is an app.
Pact. Okay.
Yeah, Our Pact. So let me just see. It is OURPACT, Our Pact. It's an app. It supports both on iOS and Android. Okay. So which can be used. It's a paid subscription, but you can specify what all apps the kids can use, and you can set the timer. So the set the timer means have that basic discipline. Let's say after 5 or after 9 in the night, if you don't want them to access their device, it will get deactivated, so they cannot do anything on that. So it's better than switching off the wireless at network at home, right? So you can always do that. This is only for a home network. What I meant by saying that is, if they have data plan on their phones, then you can't do anything. But if you use this app, it works over wireless, it works over data as well. So anytime when they have internet access, you can actually set those specifications. They cannot access anything apart from these 4 apps.
Okay. All right. Time's almost up. It's just 4 minutes to 9 o'clock here. So I think we would love to hear from you more, but because of the paucity of time, I think we'll have to kind of wind up. Sony, what do you think? Shall we come to a close?
Yeah, we will conclude. Before that, let me check. We have tried to answer as many questions possible. Due to paucity of time, we are not able to make someone. It's okay. Sangam, it's so excellent, especially controlling our kids. Using the app is most relevant, because in our place, most of the classes are on remote. From morning 6 o'clock onwards, they are in Google Meet and so on, but we don't know whether they are attending those classes and so on. So it given an insight how to control our kids also. And you have explained most of the cybersecurity threats in a simple manner, like how dosa is made at home. So simple. Thanks a lot joining with us in fine morning. Now I request our Honorary Secretary, Mr. Sijo Pongo, to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Sangam Iyer. I know you are from Thrissur. Francis is all praises on you always, and he always talks about you. It is an opportunity for me to see you and all the Thrissur people over here. And we are so pleased to know that you are so distinct and heading such a huge multinational firm on securities. Man from Thrissur, close to Ramdas. That's also nice. Nice to see you in person. Next time when you're in Thrissur, I think it'll be nice if we can meet our TMA members directly. That will make a big difference for us. You're always welcome over here. And apart from that, I would like to thank all the TMA members and the other members, other than TMA members who are here online with us for the webinar. Thank you for joining us in very odd hours, but still thank you for listening to such an excellent speech. You covered all the subject in all the areas. It is a privilege listening to him. Thank you. And I like to thank the organizers and the person behind it, Francis George and Sony and the technical team for helping us with this webinar. Thank you and have a good day. Good night from us and good morning to you, Sangam. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you all. We tried our maximum to address as many questions as possible, but within the scope of the time, we couldn't answer some of those things. But please post these questions what you have. I have a Facebook page for cybersecurity. It's known as Cyber Guru. So please post these questions onto that Cyber Guru webpage. I will share that with Francis, and then you can just go there and post your questions. And as per my schedule, my time permits, I would definitely respond to all those things individually, because we couldn't address it should be like a movie can never be 4 hours, 5 hours long. It has to be all good things should come to an end, and then that is how we have to wind up the session, because information is so much. We have to have that focus and then focus on a specific area and then try to address as much as possible. So I would humbly request you to submit all your questions there. I would see to it that I would personally answer all those things, and then making sure that your queries are addressed. Humble pranams to all.
Have a good day, Sangam.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sangam. We will not only go through your Cyber Guru, but also your blog, Churlan Patter. It's a very amazing stories are there.
Yeah, you would definitely see that the Thrissur slang and mix of Tamil and Malayalam with that. Yeah.
No, we're not just going to post questions. We're going to have more sessions from you, Sangam. We're not going to let you go. We won't let you go. Yeah, we'll follow up.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks,
you.
Guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining with us and sparing your precious time with us. With this, we conclude this webinar. Thank you and all.